So, first of all, thank you for joining with me for this interview today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And the first thing we're gonna do is, can you sort of introduce yourself and also your background, just let people know who you are?
Okay. Well, I'm Mor. I'm Senegalese, and I went to Japan for like in 2016 to do a master's degree in Toyo University. And yes, I spent 2 years, 2 years and 6 months doing internship after my graduate studies. Um, I got an opportunity to join what's called Gino Studio to do English tutoring, and it was great. Like I had a great. It was a great occasion to meet
Mhm.
folks from like all around the world.
I see.
Yes,
And since you just mentioned that you have been studying in Japan for master's degree for like over 2 years, and
yes.
what is it like to be black, to as a black people to work and study in an Asian country like Japan? What is it like?
In Asian country.
Yeah, I mean in
Okay,
Japan,
in Japan.
right?
So well, it's a very interesting thing because a lot of Japanese people, in my opinion, are not the African students and African people. There are not too many in Japan, and it was one of the reasons Japanese government decided to provide so many scholarships to
Mhm.
so many African students. We were over like 1,000 to 2,000 African students who applied and got scholarships in Japan,
Mhm.
across Japan, all those regions, Tokyo, like all those Japanese regions. And it was very interesting because we always had to say, well, we are from this country. People would confuse us with like Black Americans. Are you from the US? Are you from Africa? And also yeah, and say, and when you say I'm from Senegal, they would
Mhm.
wonder where is Senegal. So you have to you have to mention like you are in West Africa, those kind of things. And yeah, and it was very interesting experience to me. And also some Japanese students got a chance to visit Africa,
Mhm.
especially in Toyo University.
Okay.
They push, they just they try to push these Japanese students to go beyond Japan and
Mhm.
beyond Europe, and those their preferred destinations usually.
I
Yes,
see.
so they go to Africa, spend there 3 months. Yes, through university or through government organizations like JICA. Yeah.
I see. Okay. My next question is for you is, um, so like because you stay in Japan for quite a long time, have you
Right.
ever experienced any like racial discrimination in Japan? Could you tell us a
Um,
little bit?
well, I was lucky enough. I came to Japan through a scholarship, a government scholarship.
Mm.
So JICA, with JICA actually, African Business Education. So we were given so many opportunities, so many like we did not struggle a lot. The scholarship was good. The monthly stipend was good, and yeah, so we would not encounter any kind of issue related to financial or yeah. But um, what I to respond very clearly to your question
Mhm.
related to racial thing, I got to experience one thing, just
Mhm.
one thing, just stick in my mind, which is um, one day when I was applying for an apartment,
Mhm.
I was visiting with one of my fellow African students.
Yeah.
We visited a number of apartments, and we chose to I chose one of those apartments. And then I think in the evening, we visited in the morning, and then I came back later in the evening to try to figure out how I can move here, how I can get my things there. And then I met one of the neighbors, a woman, and I introduced myself and said, okay, I was from Africa, and I came here to study, and I'm intending to move in here. And she said, "Oh, great, that's interesting." And then I went back home, and I think a couple of hours later, I got a call from the agent, real estate agent, and saying to me, "Well, this apartment is no longer available."
Wow.
And I just like say, "Wow, this is how is this? How is that?" I say, "Wow, it was like," and she said, I had to look for another apartment, and shortly thereafter, I could find one apartment suggested by a colleague of a fellow African student.
I see.
Yes, and the lady, the next apartment, the lady was very welcoming, like very different situations. Yes.
I guess it's really hard for foreigner, especially Black people, to find any like apartment in Japan as a foreigner, especially.
Exactly.
Right.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah, very hard. Very hard.
I'm sorry to hear that,
Yeah.
man. I feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like they are not very used to seeing African people there, so they just prefer to stick with what they used to see, like everyday life. They don't want to get distracted.
Following the things you just said, like you said, because Japanese don't usually see African or African Americans around their area. What's the most common misunderstanding towards to Black community from, I mean, how Japanese have any like misunderstanding about Black people? What do you think personally?
Well, one of the common mistakes I see usually Japanese people do is they just assume that let's see. Well, they assume like what they see in the movies is what is real. Like they see African people being rappers, especially in the US. They rap, they are involved in music and also in cultural things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So most of the time, when I meet a Japanese man, or they just assume that I am involved in culture, in those dance, music, all those kind of things. Yes, and when I say okay, and by the way, one thing, I met also one guy who said it was the first time for him to see an African man with air glasses.
Really?
I say what? I say what? I say what?
That's
surprising.
surprising.
Very funny situation. Yeah, very funny. Yeah. So like those kind of things, but it's in my opinion, it's starting to get Japan is starting to get more and more open to other African countries. Yeah.
And in the end of this interview, I wanted to ask you, is there any messages you want to send it to Japanese or even the people who are all over the world, just about social justice? Is there any messages you wanted to send it to them?
Okay, in terms of message, I would say for first of all, for Japanese students, try to pay attention to news, to videos, and try to watch documentaries. Not only just try to nurture your culture. Just try to be aware that other things can exist, other things do exist, and try to travel, try to relationships with people around you. Try to, by the way, try to meet people. You see, say hello. If you meet a black man, you can say hello. Try to know that person a little bit more, and also for the executives and also people with higher power, like working in administration or people who are hiring in the offices and workplaces. Try to discriminate positively, apply positive discrimination. If you see a black man and also someone who is Japanese, try to get African people more chance to be part of your organization. That's I would be more towards positive discrimination. Yeah, positive discrimination. Any discrimination is bad, but positive discrimination, in my opinion, is good.
Yeah, well,
especially these times.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all for today's interview. Thank you so much for joining with me.
All right.
At this time,
My pleasure.
thank you so much. All right.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Goodbye.